It's late at night, June 13th, 1983, just outside of Anchorage, Alaska. We're at the edge of the world, freezing, isolated, and unforgiving. But it's also a place where people come to disappear or start over. Everyone's here for a reason. Workers, drifters, people escaping something or hiding from someone. Among them, addicts, criminals, outcasts. And on this particular night, one driver is just trying to make it home. He's cruising along the highway, alone. The roads are empty. Everyone else is sheltering from the cold or whatever dangers lurk in the dark. As he passes an open field filled with abandoned vehicles, something catches his eye. A silhouette. It's dim. Only his headlights are lighting the way. And at first, he thinks it's just an animal. Maybe a moose or something else wild. But then it moves. Fast. He slows down. The figure runs directly at his car, flailing their arms in desperation. It's a woman, and something's very wrong. She's screaming now, pure panic in her voice, her hands raised high above her head, as if they're tied together. The driver hesitates. Is this a trap? He just worked a long shift. He's not trying to end up in a horror movie. But then she screams again, louder. The kind of scream that makes your stomach drop, the kind that only comes from real terror. So he stops, opens the passenger door. She climbs in, trembling. All she says is, "He's going to kill me." Then, the driver sees it. In his rearview mirror, a man, sprinting toward the car, and he's carrying something. A weapon. The driver doesn't wait. He slams the gas pedal. The man disappears behind them, shrinking in the mirror. The woman is safe, for now, but she won't give her name. She just asks to be dropped off at a roadside motel. The driver insists, "Let's go to the police." She refuses. Why? Because she's not just running from a madman, she's running from her pimp. And she knows if she talks, things could get worse. She gets out at the first motel. No police, no names, just silence. The next day, the driver files a report. He shares everything with police. He can't get that night out of his head. But what he doesn't know, what no one knows yet, is that the man chasing her is already well known in Anchorage, a local hero, a friendly face, a trusted businessman. His name? Robert Hansen. Hello everyone, it's the Prince of Mystery here. Before we dive deeper into this chilling case, a quick word from today's sponsor, Mytelin. Staying healthy and slimmer this summer has never been easier, especially while you're watching your favorite mystery channel. Mytelin isn't just another supplement. It's unlike anything you've ever tried or experienced before. This breakthrough formula is one of the only products in the world with a proprietary blend of 6 exotic nutrients and plants, all designed to support healthy mitochondria levels. And if you didn't know, mitochondria are the powerhouses of your cells, and they're key to burning fat. Inside every Mytelin capsule, you'll find a unique blend of maqui berry, rhodiola, haematococcus, amla, theobroma cacao, and schisandra. These rare ingredients work together to promote calorie-burning mitochondria, helping fuel your body and metabolism like never before. In short, the more mitochondria you have, the more fat you burn. So if you're ready to boost your body's natural energy and fat-burning potential, click the link below, or simply scan the QR code on your screen to get started. Thanks to Mytelin for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to Robert Hansen. To the outside world, Robert Hansen looked like a hard-working husband, a respected baker, and a man who had turned his life around. But beneath that mask was a predator. And the truth began decades earlier, thousands of miles away. Robert Hansen was born in February 1939 in Esterville, Iowa. His childhood? Anything but normal. His father, a Danish immigrant, was a strict authoritarian figure who demanded perfection. A bad grade? Punished. A left-handed scribble? Corrected. Violently. If Robert wasn't at school, he was working long hours at the family bakery, under his father's constant surveillance. There was no safe place for him. Not at home, not at school. He was a shy, frail kid, and he stuttered, a lot. That made him an easy target. Bullies pounced, girls laughed. He became invisible or mocked, never accepted. His acne worsened, and so did his isolation. He just wanted to be normal, to be liked, to be loved. But instead, he was humiliated, day in, day out. And that humiliation turned into hatred. By the time he was in high school in the 1950s, Robert Hansen had already begun fantasizing about hurting people. Not just any people, those who rejected him, especially women. His only escape? The wilderness. He'd spend hours alone in nature, walking through the woods with a bow and arrow, or going hunting and fishing. In that silence, away from judgment, he felt peace. He found control. And that's where something dark began to form. He wasn't just practicing a hobby, he was building a skill set, one that would soon serve a far more sinister purpose. 4:30. After graduating high school, Robert discovered a typo on his yearbook. His name was spelled wrong. A final insult. He'd had enough. In 1957, at age 18, he joined the Army, and for the first time in his life, he felt respected. He passed all the tests, became a reservist. Later, he signed up as a volunteer firefighter. People liked him, and that's when he met Phoebe Paget, the woman who would become his first wife. It seemed like his life had taken a turn for the better, but the darkness inside him never left. The anger, the resentment, the need for control, it all stayed, and before long, it would erupt. In 1960, at just 21 years old, Hansen committed his first serious crime. He convinced a young bakery employee, just a teenager, to help him set fire to a school bus garage. Why? He said it was revenge. Revenge on the school system, on the people who ignored him. The fire caused significant damage. Hansen was arrested, convicted of arson, and sentenced to prison. His wife, she divorced him, and behind bars, Robert Hansen started seeing a psychiatrist. The diagnosis, infantile personality disorder, with obsessive tendencies, but it didn't stop him. If anything, it made him more careful. He was released early, and by 1967, he had moved to Anchorage, Alaska. A fresh start, a new town, a bakery to run, a new wife, kids, but the urges, they were still there, and now Alaska gave him the perfect playground. Isolated roads, dense forests, law enforcement stretched thin. People disappearing wasn't unusual here. And Robert Hansen knew that by the early 1970s, sex workers in Anchorage began vanishing. One by one, some were later found dead, others were never seen again. Hansen would pick them up in his car, pretend he was just another customer. But once they got inside, everything changed. He'd take them to a remote cabin in the woods, or worse, fly them out in his private plane to a secluded spot. And then, the hunt began. He'd strip them, torture them, release them into the forest, and hunt them down like animals with a rifle. He called it a game. They called it hell. And no one knew it was happening. Not yet. But that was about to change. The woman who escaped that night, her name was Cindy Paulson. And she wasn't going to stay silent. After checking into that motel, she changed her mind. She went to the Anchorage police. She told them everything. How Hansen had offered her money for sex. How once she was inside his home, he pulled a gun. How he chained her by the neck, assaulted her, and told her she was going to his cabin in the woods. She escaped when he went to load his plane. Barefoot, handcuffed, running for her life. At first, police were skeptical. Cindy was young, a sex worker, and had a criminal record. Hansen? He was a respected businessman, a churchgoer, married with kids. But then, Cindy led them to the exact location where Hansen had kept her. She described his house, his plane, his car, everything matched. Still, they didn't arrest him. They brought him in for questioning. He denied everything, said Cindy was lying to avoid going back to jail. And for a while, it worked. But a few detectives weren't convinced. Something didn't sit right. They started digging, and what they found would crack the case wide open. They went back through old files, police reports, missing persons, cold cases, and the pattern became clear. Women had been vanishing for years, mostly sex workers, runaways, women who wouldn't be missed, at least not by the system. But they were disappearing at a rate too high to ignore, and one name kept surfacing again and again. Robert Hansen. The detectives got a warrant. They searched his home. What they found was a nightmare frozen in time, a hidden crawl space. Inside, trophies, jewelry, ID cards, personal belongings, all from women who'd never come home. Then came the map, hand-drawn, carefully marked with tiny XS, dozens of them, each one a grave site. They brought in cadaver dogs, search teams. They followed the map into the frozen wilderness, and there, exactly where he marked, they began to find bodies. One by one, each victim confirmed what they already feared. Robert Hansen wasn't just a kidnapper, he was a hunter, and Anchorage had been his hunting ground. He didn't just kill, he played with them. He would fly them deep into the Alaskan wilderness, places only he knew, miles from any road or help. Then, he'd let them go, tell them to run. And once they did, once they were stumbling barefoot through the brush, cold, terrified, begging God to wake up, he would follow, with a rifle, like they were game, like it was sport. Some made it far. Some almost got away, but none outran Robert Hansen. He shot them down, or used a bow and arrow to end their lives, then buried them, like broken trophies, in places only he knew. He kept their belongings, every trinket, a token, not of guilt, but of power, control, dominance. In his twisted mind, they weren't people, they were prey. But Cindy Paulson had survived, and thanks to her, the cracks in Robert Hansen's mask began to widen. Detectives started comparing notes. They connected Cindy's story with other missing women, same age range, same background, same last seen areas. Then came the breakthrough, a search warrant. Inside Hansen's modest home, police found it all: the chains, the weapons, the hidden attic cache filled with trophies, jewelry, ID cards, personal items from women long gone. But the most damning piece? A map. A hand-drawn map marked with tiny X's, scattered across remote stretches of Alaskan wilderness, each X a body. Hansen had kept a record, like a hunter cataloging his kills, and now investigators knew they weren't just dealing with a killer, they were chasing a predator. One by one, the dots on Hansen's map led to shallow graves. Some had been out there for years, buried beneath snow, lost to time, but the details Cindy gave, and that map? They turned speculation into hard evidence. Bodies began to emerge, skeletons with bullet wounds, fragments of clothing, jewelry still clutched in frozen hands. The police now had more than just suspicions. They had names, they had faces, they had victims, and still, Robert Hansen denied everything. Until the pressure cracked him. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Hansen agreed to confess, but only under one condition: he wouldn't face the death penalty. Desperate to close the case, authorities agreed, and that's when the full horror came out. Hansen admitted to abducting, raping, and murdering at least 17 women. But detectives believed the number was higher, much higher. Hansen didn't just confess, he relived it. In interviews, he described each woman like they were game animals, where he picked them up, how he earned their trust, how he took them to the wilderness, far from help, far from hope. He'd let them run, give them a head start, like prey. Then he'd hunt them down, with his rifle, with his bow, with a grin. To him, these weren't people, they were trophies, each kill, a memory, a souvenir to hang in his mind. Investigators were stunned, not just by the brutality, but by how precise he was. He remembered everything: dates, locations, how many steps they ran before he pulled the trigger. His mind was a killing ledger, and when it was over, he buried them like garbage, then went home to bake bread for a town that called him a great man. The trial of Robert Hansen began in 1984, but there was no suspense. He had already confessed. To the abductions, to the rapes, to the murders. He led investigators to 17 grave sites in the Alaskan wilderness, and still, they believed there were more. The courtroom listened in silence as the prosecutor read the charges: 4 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of kidnapping, rape, assault with a deadly weapon. The jury didn't need time. They saw the monster. Hansen was sentenced to 461 years plus life, without parole, a number chosen to ensure that even in death, he wouldn't walk free. And still, the scars remained. Anchorage would never forget the man they once trusted, the neighbor, the baker, the family man, who hunted women like they were animals. And as for Hansen, he never expressed real remorse, not in court, not in prison. To the end, he saw himself not as a killer, but as a man who'd finally taken power back from a world that once humiliated him. He died in 2014, alone, behind bars. But the nightmares he created? They're still out there, buried in the snow. Some monsters don't hide in the shadows. They bake your bread. They wave from across the street. They tuck their kids in at night. And yet, they carry unspeakable darkness behind smiling eyes. Robert Hansen wasn't a myth. He wasn't a ghost story. He was real. And for over a decade, he hunted women in the last frontier while the world looked the other way. Let his story be a reminder: evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it wears an apron. But But this isn't where the darkness ends. There are still questions left, unanswered, victims never found, and killers still hiding in plain sight. And in our next episode, we'll take you even deeper into a case where one man's charm masked a trail of terror across 3 states, and no one believed the survivors. So if this story gripped you, if you believe the truth deserves to be told, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss what's coming next.